Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Corey Longnecker. This is Vice and Villainy Presents Foundry VTT. Going through bit by bit, kind of just talking about some of the cool modules and things you can do with it. Last time I talked about character sheets and the various things you can do with them in Foundry, which is pretty neat. And this time we're going to be talking about quality of life modules. One of them is in fact called quality of life. And basically what they do is they just make things a little bit better, especially for the Gamemaster, and by default then therefore the players. But really it's just a collection of tools that make things a little bit better. So I'm going to go through and show you what they are and kind of show you the benefits that they have, and if it's something that can be shown, I'll demonstrate it. So let's start by going through and enabling these. So the ones that I want to talk about, and I'll put a list of them in the description. We'll start here with the Cautious Gamemasters pack. Then we will also go to, let's see, Combat Utility Belt. DynamicEffects. Let's see. A couple here. We need the furnace. Mess. We need minor QoL, minor quality of life. Let's see, we need two more. We need the TideUI, to be confused with the Tidy5e sheet, and we also need token mold. These are the few that I'm going to be talking about here today, so let's go ahead and update our game with that. Part of what Mess does is every time you install it, or when the first time you install it, and then every other time that it's updated, it's going to do this, and you can have them not show this until the next update, which is really nice. So that's kind of handy. So let's go ahead and go into configure settings and talk about what's what in here. So we've got some module settings here, and you'll already notice that a couple things are different. Let me switch to full screen here. What you'll notice here on the right is the links to things have been organized and separated a little bit. It makes it a little cleaner, in my opinion, by putting the modules configuration of settings together, return to setup, and then configure players together, the combat utility belt stuff here, the help stuff, and then like game stuff and log out at the bottom. One of my biggest, it's not biggest, it's one of the smallest gripes I have about Foundry is that log out simply takes you out of the game, and return to setup kind of returns you to the main menu. I just wish these would have been clarified a little more. I don't know, it's minor, but that's what it is. So that's the first thing you'll see is this stuff on the right. Then what you'll see is here in module settings, it's really been cleaned up and it's in alphabetical order. And you can type and filter out what you're looking for. When you have a lot of these things, this little search thing here is really handy. And you'll notice that they're all in an expansion minimization kind of tree style. So let's start with Cautious Gamemasters pack because that's the first one. And what I really like about this one is this particular one right here. Disable GM from speaking as PC token. It just makes it nice to keep basically the GM out of it. And it keeps all chats out except for roles. So I like that a lot. This one I don't use as much, but I can see where it would come in handy. Whisper chats from hidden tokens. if you had something hiding or invisible, and you didn't want the players to know it was there, if they're all of a sudden they're chatting, it's going to give it away. I don't really have a whole lot of hidden tokens I use all the time, and when I do, I tend not to have them chatting. So that's something that you could drop there. And then I don't use chat recalls at all, but if that's something that you wanted to do, then by all means you could do it. So that's what I use from the Cautious Gamemasters pack. Mostly this because I like keeping some of the stuff. I don't want to give anything away on accident as the Game Master, and that kind of prevents that from happening. So that's what I use from the Cautious Gamemasters pack. Let's drop down to Combat Utility Belt. So you'll see here there is a lot of stuff. And in fact, they have their own configuration tool that if you're really into developing stuff, you can jump in here and look at it. I'm not. So I don't even bother with this. But stuff in here that's really cool. Enable Concentrator. This is only good for D&D 5th edition. And it requires enhanced conditions. So that's the next one down here. And basically what it does is it forces concentration checks on tokens with the concentrating status when they take damage. So it will automatically force you to make a concentration check if your spellcaster or whoever's got a spell running takes damage. So I love that. By default, then I have to enable enhanced conditions. And basically what this does is it just looks at the conditions in the characters, and it's a way to assign them and work together better. I don't use experience points, so I don't use this, but it's a way to do it at the end of combat when you stop combat to distribute it to your players automatically. I do use this, enable hide NPC names. That's for me to know and for my players not to know. So I like this. So when all of a sudden you're in combat and you're like, oh, it's it's this, it's that. Sometimes I change my token from what they look like to the monster that they actually are, or I'll have the picture of a dragon, but it's really this. It's I mix things up, so I don't want anything given away. Next is enable pan to token. Basically, it allows the screen to focus on particular tokens. Enable select token enables the token select functionality. I don't use either of these because I don't like moving the screen around a lot. Enable reroll initiative. That's if you wanted to reroll it at the end of every round, which I don't. I stick with it, so I do that. Enable temporary combatants. Allows the creation of temporary freeform combatants from the combat tracker. I tend to have my stuff planned out, and I don't wing it a whole lot. Sometimes I do, but usually I'll just copy and paste something pretty quickly. But basically this allows you to do it right from the combat tracker, which is kind of cool. Token effect icon size. So what happens is when you have an icon that has a condition, paralyzed or poisoned, or there's one for concentration, it's the size of it that sticks up over here next to their token. And I tend to stick with small, but you can go with large, medium if you like, if it's a little more difficult for you to see it. So that's that. And then enable Mighty Summoner. Automatically check to see if the token of a neutral actor also owns an actor with the Mighty Summoner feat. This is a very, very niche use. It doesn't apply to me. I don't use this, so I don't use this. But if you're seeing neutral actor for the first time, what that is, you can have 3 assignments to tokens on the table. You can have friendly, neutral, or hostile. Basically, that only applies to owners of neutral actors. Your PCs typically are friendly. The enemies are typically hostile. And then regular people tend to be neutral. And what that ends up doing is when you hover over a token, and let me zoom in here and you can kind of see on the side, you'll see a little red box around this one and a green or a bluish box around this one. So this means that they're friendly because it's green-blue. This means that they're hostile because it's red. And if I double right-click on it, you'll see token disposition hostile, and that's how you can assign it. So that's all that means. So that's Combat Utility Built. It's fantastic. Really like it. DynamicEffects. So this is another cool module. And a lot of these work together in the background for other modules too. So some modules will have a dependency on other modules, and DynamicEffects is a dependency for various other modules. So consume charge on passive activation when activating a passive effect via this or a chat status card. Check if the item has charges and consumes a charge. You're going to want to leave this on. It goes back to things depending on DynamicEffects. Others here, active effects require item targets. So if you don't have something currently targeted, which right-click target, some of these things won't work. And some of these things can be like spell effects and various other things you're going to get in that I'll talk about later. That leverage dynamic effects. So you're going to want this checked as well. Allow players to see details of effects. Just leave this as never because I don't want them to see anything. Player controls their hidden token. This is new. I haven't seen this yet. If true, players control see their token even if the token is hidden. So I guess if they were invisible or something like that, they could still have control over it, which is kind of cool. And then auto-calculate armor class. If true, dynamic effects will auto-calculate AC from armor shields in the inventory. Other items can still modify AC. So this really more applies to your NPCs and enemies and stuff like that. But it still works with your player characters as well. I mean, I guess it works with everything. So that looks into your equipment and puts together, what your AC should be. If you're importing it from D&D Beyond, it will already have been done for you, but then anything you change within Foundry, this will apply it there. So that's DynamicEffects. It doesn't look like it does a whole lot, but it runs a lot of things behind the scenes. Mess. Let's look at Mess. So Mess has its own menu. So we'll click on that. And what Mess or Moerills Enhancing Super Suite does is a lot. This is the basic info. This is the template side. This is really cool stuff. Enable alternative template texture rendering. So what this means, kind of show you what it looks like here, and this is from his GitHub page, is you can apply different things to area of effect. So if you've got like a fireball that's a sphere, or you've got, a square that would be like poison gas, or a cone like, breath weapon or something like that. That's what that's going to be. So that's what alternative template text rendering does. Enables automatic targeting of tokens when a template is moved around. And let's show you what that does. So what that does is, as you move, as you move it around, let's see if they've got it in here. They don't. Maybe you're trying to figure out where you want to place the template to maximize the number of enemies you hit. As you do it, it can automatically target them, so you can see who's going to get hit based on where you move it. And then there's neither draw template borders nor highlight grid for textured templates. Basically, like it says here, activating this removes the borders and grid highlights of textured temperatures only, or templates only. If you hover over the template controls, the highlight and borders will be shown. I like it off because I think it looks cooler. And then what you've got here for 5e specific options is template textures. And what this allows you to do is, as spells are cast, depending on what they are, so like if it's bludgeoning, depending on how it goes, acid, maybe it's an acid ray, cone of cold, or you've got circle for like fireball. Lightning, maybe you've got lightning bolt, and that would be more of a rectangle or array. And you've got all these different kinds of damage that can occur in D&D 5e. You can apply either a picture or an animated effect to it, and as that's cast, it will put it out there. Really, really cool stuff. You can also do this. It adds something to the spell sheet, and I'll show you that in a second, where you can apply very specific things. So if you have animated, if you have pictures or animated images that you want to use for something like Fireball or Cone of Cold or Lightning, it's very specific to a spell, because there are those out there. You can do that. So that's really neat. So that will replace the default template with, you know, like a fireball or a wall of fire or something cool like that. So you can go in and you can do that and make them fit. Specifically to 5e in here, numerical scrolling, so allows us to scroll inside of numerical input fields to modify them. So instead of having to go in, tap, and hit, 14, you can go in and use the scroll wheel on your mouse to move up and down. Sort items button, which is really sweet. It allows you to sort your items in alphabetical order. Prepared spell tracker, which is also nice, adds a tracker to the spellbook tab that allows you to see the maximum number of allowed spells. It doesn't get calculated automatically, though, like it says here. It's more of a reminder how many you're allowed to have, but still helpful. Alternative rolling and targeting. Activate. So all following settings do only work if activate is selected. And then always display GM attack cards to all users regardless of roll mode. So basically what this is going to do is it's going to display the attack card with some basic information like the attacker and the target to all players, and then they can decide to show the rolled results on demand by clicking the button. So basically it's going to tell the players what was cast or what was done in the attack, and then the GM can decide, okay, here's the results of the attack, yes or no. And then use maximum crits. If you want to max crits, by all means do. I tend not to, so I leave that alone. And then miscellaneous, activate placeables changes. Basically, it kind of just changes the way they look when they're dragged around, and I'll show you this in the other page in a second. And then activate a nicer drag animation for the sidebar. Basically, just cleans things up, makes things a little bit smoother. So let's go back here and jump back to the GitHub page, because there's cool stuff here. So there's momentum-based preview snapping, so you can move it around and really see where things are going to click in. And it leaves you an image of where it was. So like you can see the way it's moving. As you get slower and a little more deliberate, it starts to want to snap to grid. So that's really cool. Drag and drop animations for sorting lists. You can see there it is in how it looks there. So that's really nice. Custom attack and damage roll cards. You can see here. Basically, the damage card shows you what the card is, and then you can choose how the attack works. Here's the damage. Here's the attack. And then it also supports another module called Dice So Nice that allows you to drop physical dice on the virtual tabletop. So yeah, it's just really cool stuff. There you can see what the prepared spell tracker looks like, which is really nice. The alphabetical sort through the filter right here, which is cool. And yeah, really, really cool stuff. Super, super nice. I use this in my other game a lot. But you can see everything there. I don't have to demonstrate it because it's already been done. But Mess is super, super cool. And this works really well if you, there's another one called animated tokens, and you can, or animated spell effects, and you can do really cool stuff with them together. Let's jump into minor quality of life stuff, because there's quite a few in here. Add attack damage buttons to the inventory list. Like it says, that way in there you can see the attack and damage buttons of things in your inventory list, so you can see it in the description. Enable speed item rolls. I don't really use it, but it's there. Apply checks before doing speed macro rolls. Use a whole lot of I don't really use any macros, so I don't have to worry about that. Auto target on template draw. So this is cool. So as you're drawing that sphere or square or cone, if you're using walls in your game, you can decide whether or not walls block things. You can decide whether it auto targets regardless of whether, you know, where you are or never. I use walls block because, well, there's a wall, fire's probably going to block some of it, or cold's going to block some of it. Now, you can then decide as the GM whether you want to make different damage or whatever, but for the sake of my games, I just let the walls block it, and that's that. Auto check if it hits target. So this is kind of neat, where if you've got things targeted like this and you roll against them, it will automatically look at the target's armor class and see if it's hit. And if it is, it'll auto roll the damage for it, which is really cool. And then what you can do then is you can have it set to none, set to check all C results, check only the GMCs, auto check and abuse. So I don't really know what auto check and abuse does. I'm pretty sure it just does it and then applies it. But yeah, I like check all C result. Auto check saves, same thing, basically for saving throws. Prompt player to roll saves. So basically what you can do is none, which is what I have. You can have a chat message that says, you know, if it's cold and you need them to make or if it's poison and you need them to make a constitution check, it would automatically put that out in the chat. Or if you're using this, which is called Let Me Roll That For You, it'll whisper a message to them that basically rolls it for them. That's something else I don't use, but I see where it can really come in handy. Basically, it lets the GM prompt a player for something without the player having to look it up. Like, where do I find that on my character sheet? Well, the GM automatically have it done for you. Delay before rolling for players. How long to wait before taking over players? Save for them. Yeah. That's just how long it waits before the players roll. Or how long it waits if the players don't roll. So if in 30 seconds the players don't roll, it'll do it. Auto roll damage. So I do this if the attack hits, then damage is done. You could have it none if you didn't want to do it. I always like it with attack hits. Add damage buttons to chat message. What that does is when you do roll something in chat, and let's just to be. Let's see if it's glaive. Attacking anything, it doesn't work. I'd have to save these anyhow to get this going. Basically what it does is in the chat message here you'd see a damage button to where if you've attacked you can click the damage button and then it will roll damage from there. Auto apply damage to target, yes, but offer an undo. So I like that in case the player's like, oh, by the way, I can use, you know, this character trait and get out of it. Well, then you can undo the damage. So I leave it that way. Untarget at the end of turn. So in the combat tracker, basically what it does is at the end of the turn, it will untarget them. I always leave it targeted because that's who I want to be attacking, unless they're dead, and then I have it on target, which is what untarget dead is. So you can untarget all, never, or untarget dead. I like untarget dead. Apply damage immunities. So here, when using minor QoL damage buttons or auto-applying damage, apply target damage immunities and resistances vulnerabilities. All damage types are checked. Saves, check text is selected, check the spell description for special strings for half damage. Basically, if an attack is rolled and they have resistance to it, it will apply the save, but it's not gonna text check. I just leave it like this. If you want to be a little bit more observant, you could do it as check text. Auto apply item effects to targets. So automatically apply item effects to targets if they are hit, fail to save, or don't get a save. Here you go. It requires dynamic effects and works better with the About Time module as well. So basically, if you're going to do this, it wants you to have dynamic effects and About Time installed. So that's kind of cool there. It will auto apply item effects to the targets. So if an item if you use an item and it has an effect, it can apply it. Item macro use speed rolls. Again, I don't use those, but it's by default it's enabled. Hide token names in the hit safe chat message. I tend to use this because I like it. Chat cards use the token name. So chat card titles and target names use the token name rather than the actor name. I leave this off. I'd rather know the actor name. Check. Open a confirmation dialog when trying to delete items from the character sheet. Yeah, make sure that you want to delete it. GM sees all whispered messages. So if players are whispering to each other, if that's checked, you'd see it. I leave that off in case my players want to try to plan something, talking about something, and they don't want me to know about it. I think it's fair. Bordered messages, basically each chat message in the border has a player character's color, so you could colorize it so that at a quick glance you can see who's chatting without having to read it. And then auto target for ranged target attack spells. Auto target for ranged target types if the target. That is something I also do too. So basically that's ranged attacks instead of just melee attacks. So that's minor quality of life. A lot of good stuff in there. The furnace. This is a longer one because I use all these and they're good stuff. The furnace. What I use the furnace for is not for advanced macros because I don't use really macros. I do use it for advanced drawing tools because I like to have a little bit more control of stuff I'm drawing. So advanced drawing tools in there. You wanted to freehand the sample rate, you can change how smooth things go. So you can change the delay in milliseconds there. Improve the playlists UI, so hide sound controls until hovered and shows what's playing on the top. So if you do use music in here, I don't have anything installed right now. But basically right up here below, it'll be in a little red space and it'll say currently playing. And then all of your other playlist stuff are below. So I like that. I think it's kind of cool. And then volume slider linear to logarithmic exponential approximation. I have no idea what that is. In all honesty, I'm not an audio guy. So 3 is the default. That must be good. Sorry, guys. I don't know what that is. But I really use it for the playlists and then the advanced drawing tools. So that's the furnace. And what else do I have here? TideUI. That's basically cleaning up these things and the things here in module and stuff. It's mostly things outside of the game. It's more of how things look and how things function. Basically, always activate the module settings tab. If you happen to visit the module settings tabs often, you might want to set this so you don't have to click to activate the module settings tab. Basically, what you can do is, as you install new modules, it will automatically check them, apply them to your game, rather than having to go into your game and then select them. And then finally, token mold, which is not something that has anything here, but what it does, and let me show you what token mold does. go to the main page and show you what token mold, all its functionalities are. So we'll look at add-on. Let's do it this way because it's faster, because I can search in here to the GitHub page and take a look at it there. So yeah, token mold. There's a lot of stuff here, but really a lot of cool things here. So pull a token on the canvas and the chosen pattern will automatically apply to your token. So you can pull things in and it will auto do things for you. It will number them. So if you've got a lot of different, like, let's see, you've got a bunch of guards, guard 1, guard 2, guard 3, guard 4. It'll apply different names to them so that you can easily identify which one's which in the combat tracker. That's one of the big ones. Like here, do you like to name all your goats goat? Well, there's a way to differentiate it, and it allows you to do that. So add counting numbers to the name as a suffix. So, you know, 6, 12, 9, goat, you know, however you want to do it, you can change it in whatever style you want to. Naming options. So it'll do like a random name generation. So you can have it apply names to the things that as they come in here. There's a cat named Mashan, and another cat named Detri, and another cat named Ostra. So it allows you a little bit more control over the naming, how you want to do it. So that's not just cat 1, cat 2, cat 3. And it'll do it up to 35 languages. So kind of cool. Random adjectives, and this is the one I like and I use. So like panicky acolyte 2, flighty acolyte 7, tall acolyte. It's funny as a GM. It makes me remember who they are and what they do. You can hide the names so the players don't know what hit them, which is cool. You do it on hover, owner hover, stuff like that. It gives you a little more control over it. Then there's override token config. This is cool. So you don't like how you set up your tokens, or you dislike the default settings for a compendium. Well, you can go in and change, apply to everything you create from there on out. So you can go back and you can make things exactly how you want the token to be. Sticky templates, you miss auras or some kind of template for your beloved token, you can use token molds, sticky templates. So that's what that template looks like right there. So you can stick the template to the token, and as it moves, the template moves. So if let's say, what would be a good one? You could put some kind of like maybe daylight, or moonlight. I got a druid cast in moonlight. You could attach it to the token, and as they move, you know, it could move with them if you want it to be that way. But really, it just allows the template to move with the token, so that's kind of cool. You know, a lot too lazy to roll your minions' hit points. So I use this a lot too for when I drop a thug or a gladiator or anything. It will automatically roll their hit points when I drag them onto the canvas. It doesn't just go with the default, so it adds a little bit of flair, a little bit of flavor, so that not all my guards have 17 hit points. You know, some might have 19 and some might have 16. It allows it to be just a little bit different, and then you can customize it as well, so that you know, you can add or bump or remove it as you do it. And then token overlay. So there's ways to put things on your token, like you can see their passive perception or their armor class. As you hover over it, you can see those things. And then token scaling, it'll automatically do it based on the scale of the grid that you have. It'll scale it appropriately. So token mold, really, really good stuff. If you want to read about it in more detail, you can get to it by clicking on the GitHub thing from in here. But really, that's what I've got right now. These are all kind of quality of life, some of the big quality of life things. I've broken up quality of life and then UI tweaks. I'm going to talk about UI tweaks soon, probably next. That's a long one too. There's even more of them. And I know I'm rushing through this, and I did it in like 35 minutes. And I really didn't get into a whole lot of detail with it, but it's kind of something that you just have to turn on and then play with and see. But at least you have an idea of what's out there and, you know, what it does, some sort of brief description. Because if I went through in detail, we'd be here for hours. And you don't have that kind of time. Neither do I. So thanks for stopping by. I think I'll talk about UI tweaks next time, and we'll just keep on plugging away at the cool stuff within Foundry. Other stuff that I will talk about are like effects, so animated effects, some cool stuff about like changing the way Fog of War works. You can make doors have sound, a couple of things related to dice, some stuff related to combat, stuff that you can do to your tokens so that your tokens have some cool stuff, like you can make a patrol. So if you want a guard have a patrol, you can do that. Stuff in the journals and note taking. You know, some really cool big stuff like multi-level tokens and beast shape polymorph, how that works within Foundry. And then some other stuff like Trigger Happy, which basically allows you to set traps that automatically spring when a player gets near them or clicks on something. So all that's to come. Next time, though, we will talk about some of the UI tweaks like auto-loading chat, only the last couple messages, or cursor hider, so that all the cursors that you see on the screen when the players are there kind of disappear. One of my favorites is called deselection. Basically, after you click on a token, if it has vision and you just click off of it back on the map, nothing happens. You actually have to click and drag a rectangle or some shape for it to revert out of that. Well, deselection allows you just to click out and it's done. So some other cool stuff, we'll talk about that, and I'll run through those again. But thanks for stopping by, everybody. I know this is a long one. I try to keep these short, but this is as short as I could get. So hope you have some fun gaming and that Foundry's working well for you. And, you know, again, leave any comments below. If there's other quality of life stuff that's out there, you know, new stuff's popping up in Foundry all the time. I may not know about it. By all means, drop it in comments, and don't forget to subscribe and click that notification button so when my random videos come out, you can be aware. But thanks, everybody, and take care.